with the best fan.
Ernest Jones, Devin Witherspoon, Kendra Wright, Dave Burleson. You're watching NorbCam.
NorbCam. You're watching NorbCam.
Yo, what's up, everybody? This is NorbCam coming at you. I don't know if you guys ever saw that video. I made that music video back in 2022 when it was officially announced that Russell Wilson was traded to the Denver Broncos. And I was, like, I'm sure a lot of you out there was heartbroken at the time, felt angry, betrayed, a lot of emotions. And I really meant that. I was like, I didn't know if I was going to get over him, but if we won a Super Bowl, I just might. And well, guess what? We just won a Super Bowl. So it certainly eases some of the weird feelings of the reaction to the news today about his official retirement. But nonetheless, according to Russell Wilson's social media accounts, that he is indeed stepping down, retiring from the National Football League. It's hard to kind of wrap my head around it, and I appreciate you guys. We got a bunch of you guys tuned in to this live stream, a late one, as I have to shout out my buddy Sam Dog, the infamous 253. I was actually watching the movie with a couple of friends of mine, Obsession. Really good horror movie, by the way. If you like really tight suspense movies, this one was just damn good. It's really good. So as a horror movie lover, I loved it. But my phone was blowing up. I was like, who's calling me? And Sam Dog like multiple times trying to reach me, but I couldn't answer it. As soon as I had a chance to peek at it, I realized what he was trying to get a hold of me for, and that was to tell me about the official announcement. So Sam Dog broke the news to me, so I appreciate you, Sam Dog. But yeah, I guess it doesn't completely come as a surprise as it would if it was just completely out of the blue, but we did hear about him not taking the backup role to Geno Smith in New York to take the broadcasting job with CBS. So in a lot of ways, I'm sure like many of you probably heard that and thinking, that just might be the end, because how often does somebody take the broadcast job for a year and then go back to playing? Probably unlikely, but I still kept thinking maybe wouldn't quite hang it up yet, or maybe there's be some more time. But it is a little bit strange now to think that, wow, this is really it. To think that not that I ever thought he was going to come back to Seattle, but I always thought at some point he would come back to Seattle and do the one-day retirement, and kind of ceremoniously have Seattle welcome him back. And that might still happen, but it certainly felt like it happened a lot sooner than I thought. I just thought there was going to be a few more years of Russ being a journeyman quarterback and maybe having a backup job here and there and getting some starting opportunities when someone got injured, and he wouldn't quite let that dream go. But yeah, I guess that's it. And it's kind of odd now because it feels like the timing of it all, it still feels like, now granted, winning the Super Bowl, it truly did help me, and I'm sure a lot of you guys, to sort of put away a lot of the bad feelings of the negative karma we've been feeling for the past 10 plus years, ever since we lost Super Bowl 49. And I think that still wondering, is Seattle ready to forgive and embrace Russell Wilson back to Seattle? I don't know if he has yet. I don't know if people are there yet, because it's amazing how many people still have a lot of ill will towards Russell Wilson. I'm not going to get into a debate about whether, is he Hall of Fame worthy? Is he you know, this or that, you know, what kind of a broadcaster is he going to make? But it is kind of interesting to ponder, what is his legacy going to be? You know, what will he be remembered as? Because he's one of those players that started off so hot in his first 2-3 years. Obviously, in his first 3 years, makes 2 Super Bowl appearances, and you're thinking, oh, he's going to be multiple appearances. And like many quarterbacks do, they get that one, and then they never get to sniff it again. And while I thought he was going to be a Seahawk for life, always thought there'd be multiple Super Bowl appearances. You know, we never got that second shot, and never really got that close after 49. And, you know, so much to be debated. Tomorrow I'm going to do a little more in-depth show on our Barking Dogs podcast with Chris Schellenbarger. We're going to definitely get into a little bit more deeper in the weeds on this and many other topics of the week, I should say. It's been a crazy week. I mean, there's so much I haven't really jumped into, from the Myles Garrett trade moves to the Rams, A.J. Brown going to the Patriots. We're going to jump into all that tomorrow with a little more in-depth back and forth on it. But I guess for this show, I really wanted to, kind of what Sam Dog earlier did his video was just sort of share a few of the fonder memories of Russell Wilson, because I think we've been so left with the not so good memories, you know, with his departure and kind of saying everything that happened, and, you know, all of us rooting against him, especially when he had a homecoming back to Seattle, and really feeling like that was kind of how we sent him off, and never really had that sort of, you know, re-embracing period. So, you know, when I think about Russell Wilson, I was a guy who, as soon as he was anointed the starter back in 2012, his rookie season, over Matt Flynn, and we got to see him, you know, really kind of take hold and be the guy. And it was really that Chicago Bears game was the one where in Chicago, where he beat them basically kind of twice, overtime, and then won the game. But it was a Sidney Rice play at the goal line to win that game. That was kind of his coming out party. And I remember that sort of sealed it as far as his just, man, this is the guy. This is the quarterback we've been, you know, needing, that we've been looking for since, you know, Hasselbeck, you know, brought us to the Super Bowl, but we couldn't close the deal. And it felt like he was just going to be here forever, and that we would just be one of those guys who would just start off as a Seahawk and forever be a Seahawk. I believe that anyway, contrary to many people who said they didn't think he would. I always thought that we would do it, and I had always hoped he'd stay to do so. And I believed it when he said, I want to stay and win multiple Super Bowls here, till he didn't. But I think about that 2012 game. That was really his amazing coming out party, and you know, we had several great games led by Russ. Then, of course, our 2013 year that brought us to the Super Bowl. And for me, it's always going to be special, because that's when I started my YouTube channel that year, when we went to the Super Bowl and won it the first time in New York, New Jersey. And, you know, Russ was really, he kind of epitomized it. That plus, of course, our defense and Marshawn Lynch. But Russ, you know, you got to remember all those amazing plays that he did, just the magician plays and running around and scrambling, and just made football so exciting. We just never had a quarterback like that, who could move like he could, who could improvise, who was a running threat and a throwing threat, and and a leader who just felt like, this dude is, you know, he's the guy. You know, you just want to get right behind him and cheer him on and follow him into battle. And, you know, always said the right things, almost to a fault of being cheesily PC, and always saying just the right, perfect, PR-worthy sound bites. I think to a point where that's sort of the thing that people knock him for, was the fact that he was too polished and almost like, is he really, you know, is he really real? You know, that people started to wonder if is that the real Russ. And I'll share kind of my overall thoughts on that, because, you know, Russ was a guy who, he kind of hit me, as I always use the word, he's like a PR chameleon, because you'd hear Russ and he'd had different faces. He had different versions that he would portray of himself. if he's at the podium or if he's talking to somebody in a proper sit-down interview, Russ would sound like a, Ivy League educated guy. Well, in the National Football League, I just believe that you can do whatever you put your mind to. And he sounds very proper, right? But then when he's talking to his teammates and he's doing like a live video, yo, what's up? This Russell Wilson, the homies over here. Yeah, we're going to get it going on. It's like, whoa, this is a different version of Russ. And then you might have another version that is the kid-friendly version. And so there was always these different versions, and you start to wonder which is the real Russ? Is it this guy? Is it the PR guy? Or is these all just different masks that he puts on, And while I believe, everything he did was legitimately, from the heart, like I would never knock him for anything he did off the field, like doing the visiting Children's Hospital. I mean, he did that from the get-go, and a lot of people would criticize him saying, yeah, well, he always had a camera crew following him. Well, at least he's doing it, he could have not done it. But yeah, so I guess he was doing it and he was shooting it. So, how can you knock a guy like that? But it just amazes me how we've had so many guys and still players that we hold dearly and put on a pedestal. I won't name any specific names. So we have guys who we still love to this day, way more than Russ, who have had run-ins with DUIs, domestic violence, other kind of questionable things that have happened. And Russ has never had any of that. He's never had anything that was illegal or questionable or ethics. It's just simply that thing about, is he really who he pretends to be or tries to put himself to be? And it's interesting that that's sort of the legacy that Seahawks fans, anyway, seem to hold on to the most. And for a guy who's never done anything really wrong, it's amazing how much that has defined him as our memory of this player. So, but then you start hearing the rumors about how he had kind of special treatment, and then later on he was trying to get Pete Carroll fired and even John Schneider, and how he didn't really hang out with the players. And none of the players even really, endeared himself to them, because they would say, "Do you ever hang out with him?" It's like, nope, you never hang out. It's like he just sort of did his own thing, but didn't really hang out with the fellas, And so you hear all that stuff and you just kind of always wonder, that's weird, right? You'd think that a guy who's that much of a team player would be so connected, And so to not have that was always a questionable thing. But that's part of what made you start to understand that there's a little more to this guy than there is. But getting off track, back to the positive thing. So, 2013, to win us that first Super Bowl, a lot of people say Russ was just a game manager, and it was the defense and the running game that won us, the championship. Yeah, well, Russ wasn't great in the Super Bowl, but there were a lot of games where if we didn't have Russ, we would not have accomplished what we accomplished in 2013 to be able to do this. I believe this is the gift to the season ticket holders after we won Super Bowl 48. And I believe that's Russ's hand holding the Lombardi. I was there with my dad that day. I'll never forget it. And, I'll always be appreciative to Russ for having brought us there. 'Cause I believe it was a combination of all those things. We couldn't have done it without Russ. Yeah, we needed that defense. We also needed the running game, all that. But I think Russ was more than a game manager. I think that's diminishing and calling him, oversimplifying what he brought, because a game manager couldn't have made all the plays that he made. And there was a lot of them. He got out of some sticky situations multiple times, and that wasn't something anybody could do. Him and Colin Kaepernick, both those guys were just sort of, they sort of defined what the read option was back in 2012. It seemed like it was almost unstoppable for a while, and then they found a way to stop it. But that's kind of the nature of how the game goes. You do something, looks unstoppable, then the defense is figured out, then you got to kind of, set yourself in a way to overcome what they've adjusted to you. So, which, Russ did, but unfortunately, as he got older in his career and he lost that mobility, suddenly it exposed the weaknesses of his game. I think the combination of the lack of the height, which there's just a reality to it. If you can't see over the line, can't see past the trees, kind of hard to see those targets in the middle of the field, so he'd have to run and rush outside so he can get a better view. That definitely played into things. And when he lost the ability to make magic happen outside the pocket, suddenly, his limitations, continued to grow. And boy, did they drop fast when you think about how quickly after leaving Seattle. He had his moments. He could have won that homecoming game when Denver came back to Seattle. And there's a point where he could have turned that season around. And there were some close calls where the season, with the Steelers as well, where they could have made it to the playoffs with him, but just things didn't work out for one reason or the other. But eventually those things just caught up. But, along with those memories was going to be 2014 when, that amazing season where, started out pretty good, and then we had controversy with Percy Harvin being traded, and suddenly we found ourselves 6-4, and everybody questioning whether this team would even make it to the playoffs, and they go on this undefeated run to finish 12-4, get the first round bye and home field advantage, and that led to the Packers game and the amazing comeback. And Russ had a crappy game, one of his worst games ever, and to come back and win it, as we all know, the way they did. You felt like it was a team of destiny, right? I mean, that year, 2013 was great. 2014 for me was even, more insane with that game. As some of you know who followed me for a long time, my reaction video from that Packers game, this is way before live streaming, before phones were everywhere. That video went viral and ended up being on all kinds of ESPN and sports. Led to a Sports Center story about me, about that game and that video. And never in a million years I ever think I'd end up on Sports Center. And there I was in a days after the championship win, going to the Super Bowl, and in the midst of all that, ending up on Sports Center and just riding the wave of emotion leading to Super Bowl 49, which turned out to be an amazing game. One of the best Super Bowls, if you count the first 59 and a half minutes of the game and don't look at the last 30 seconds, one of the greatest games ever played. That should have been one of the greatest would have been a comeback in the final few minutes. But anyway, we know how that all went, and it just sometimes boggles the mind when you think about what would have happened to Russ and the Legion of Boom and the whole team had they'd won that game. The direction that the team went, so different from had they won it going this way, and what happened after that. And I think it's what has never really quite, until we won this last Super Bowl, that's what we've been stuck with for all these years, from 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 to 20, 21, 22, and Russ finally was traded to the Broncos. Never quite got over that, because we carried with us all those years that we just could never quite get back to it. It was close, but never close enough. Never could get back to the championship game till he was finally gone. But I will, must say I have to remember fondly, and I think it's important for everybody to kind of remember what he contributed to the Seahawks and the last 12 years, since, when he joined the team, 10 years with him, because really it's some of the best football the Seahawks ever had, not this past year notwithstanding, to go that long of a run where every season was a winning season, with the exception of a couple. We were always right there, and most of the time making the playoffs. And so, you can't forget the past just because of what's happened in the present, right? Yeah, right now it's Sam Darnold. It's this new wave of players. And 12 years ago seems like a long time ago now, but it was still something that had never happened with the Seahawks till Russ came along. And so that part of it is, something I'll always cherish and look back fondly of. And well, it'll be interesting to see if the city of Seattle, and the Seahawks for that matter, will they embrace his return? Will there be a one-day retirement contract to bring him back as a Seahawk? For me, I would love to see that happen. And I feel like it's got to happen sooner than later, because when a player usually announces retirement, they usually do a pretty quick, if they're going to do the one-day team retirement thing, that's done pretty soon after the announcement is made, because you don't want to wait 5 years. It'd be weird kind of to wait that long. So if it's going to happen, I feel like it's got to happen soon. And would they go so far to do the ceremonial retirement, 1 day retirement thing, and then 1 day contract for his retirement? And would they go so far as to potentially have him raise the flag? Make an appearance, raise the 12 flag at maybe even the opening of the NFL season on that Wednesday, September 9th game. Would that be good? Would that be a good thing? Or would it be a weird thing? Would people cheer? Or would they boo when the announcement of the 12 flag raisers, Russell Wilson? I think people would, right? Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you cheer if he was the one to be raising the flag? I would think that would be the case. But I don't know. I'm not sure what you guys think. Would you boo Russell Wilson if he were to be announced at this upcoming season pregame? I'm just curious of what you guys think. Would you cheer him, or would you, or are some of you still bitter about him and hold that against him? Just wonder how people feel. It's a very weird thing for a guy who's really never done anything bad, as far as we know. But yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see. And whose decision is that to make? Is it a John Schneider thing? Is it a owner thing? Is it a Jody Allen thing? Is it the president? Is it a Chuck Arnold thing? I wonder. Who. I'm sure they're talking about it. I'm sure behind closed doors they're having discussions about, okay, guys, we're going to do a Russell Wilson thing. And I think there was some acknowledgement by the Seahawks, very cordial, the thank yous and all that stuff. So, certainly there's acknowledgement, but how far will they go with that will be interesting to see. See, Sam Dog says he's definitely going to cheer. Tay Francis said, cheer the man. Ilona says, cheer. I think we should. I mean, it would be pretty petty to not. Again, especially since we won a Super Bowl last year. That wipes a lot of bad feelings, a lot of bad karma kind of goes away when you win a Super Bowl. It's kind of a full reset, where it's like it resets all the bad juju from before. And I'd like to think that that's how people will see it. Lots to talk about, breaking it down for another show, to get into what the Rams have been doing. Whew, my goodness. And the potential of Aaron Donald coming back too. That's Myles Garrett, Aaron Donald, and the rest of those moves that they made. Whew. But I say the Rams, somebody made a question earlier about, does the cap space not apply to the Rams? Is bizarre, man, for a team that has done so much to throw so much money, so many draft picks, and signing free agents, and yet they compete every year, and somehow they're able to still acquire guys. I don't know how they do it. Some kind of Jedi mind trick on the cap where people just don't realize that they're doing it. But it's going to be another battle, just like it was this past year with us and the Rams for sure. But we'll get into it more tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Hope you'll tune in. Me and Chris will dive into it hardcore, and we'll have some trivia tomorrow too as well. Some questions actually that Chris has put together. So looking forward to seeing how you guys do with that. But there's just so many memorable games, and when you think of 10 years, that's a long time to think about. And I mean, Russ, remember the game? Remember where he had his ankles stepped on, and I think it was an opener against Miami, and we all thought he was not going to play because he'd never been injured before, and yet he tapes up his ankles with super duper, tape after his ankles just tweaked, and he manages to get out there and still play. I forgot what season that was. 2018. I can't remember which season it was. But there was that season, and then just so many amazing throws There's one. It wasn't a major play again in a big time game, but I remember against the Jacksonville Jaguars, there was a play he made where they're at the goal near like the 5-yard line, and he's aiming to throw to the right. He's got a defender coming in hard on him from the right side, and instead of trying to juke him, he sort of does this pump fake pirouette, and is able to juke the defender that way, spins around, and then throws it and hits, I think, the tight end or something in the right pylon. I was like, man, what a move. It was amazing, And that's just one of many magical moves that he'd done. I think of one against the 49ers where they're chasing him all in the back. He's going right, and then he goes left and back to the middle. And you see these guys are tired trying to chase him, and he throws the ball downfield, hits Doug Baldwin for a 50-yard gain or something. And just so many plays where you just go, oh my God, how did he do that? The one circus one against, I think it was the Cardinals, where they even say, cue the circus music, and he gets chased in the backfield, does a fake, and they jump and keeps going, spins and throws it, hits Doug Baldwin, and he almost scores a touchdown. Just a human highlight reel for so many years. Here's just a few numbers about Russ. Again, I'm not going to get into these Hall of Fame worthy, but career numbers. Let's see. 3,951 completions out of 6,120 attempts, a lifetime 64.6% completion percentage, 46,966 yards, an average of 7.7 per, 353 touchdowns to 114 interceptions, long of 80. That was his longest pass, was 80 yards. 570 sacks, lifetime rating of 99.3. And then rushing, he had 1,042 carries for 5,568 yards, an average of 5.3 yards per carry, 31 touchdowns, and a long of 55. Yeah. We get to watch all those, majority of them in person, at least definitely in Seattle. So, yeah, but yeah, that's something we'll have to debate and question is does Russ, does he have the numbers to be in the Hall of Fame, or has he played himself out of it? Did he basically do himself a disservice by his career sort of dropping once he left Seattle? Did that doom his ability and potentially get into the Hall of Fame? That's something that will be hotly debated for a while. And will him going to the broadcast booth, is that something he's doing to hopefully try to enhance his visibility to potentially, improve his chances of being put in? Because a lot of these guys who were kind of reconsidered, some of them kept, by staying on the broadcast side, stay in the public eye because you still hear from him every week, even though he's not playing. So we'll see if that's something that will, potentially affect his ability to get in. At this point, it feels like he didn't do himself any services, because a service to getting back in, because once he got to Denver, it really never quite got the same type of performance that the Broncos were hoping to get from Russ Wilson. It seemed like when they traded for him, they gave up so much that actually helped shape the team that became the team that won the Super Bowl this past year. A lot of it had to do with what Denver did to give us what we got in the trade for Russ. And it's funny because when you see how much they gave it to get him, a lot of us who knew, Russ, we were seeing the chinks in the armor. We saw kind of like what was kind of going on and not, not great for what we're seeing, like the issues with Russ. But it seemed like Denver wasn't aware of that. It was almost like they were going off of his 2014, 2012, 2013, 2014 highlights, and were thinking that's who they're getting. They hadn't been watching more recent tape. So it's pretty amazing how much they gave up. But we definitely got the better end of that deal. So, and it helped us solidify some of the foundation to having the team that eventually did win the Super Bowl last year. So, we fleeced the heck out of the Broncos, says Brendan, that's for sure. Norb, I remember you had his jersey but gave it away. Dak Swag, sorry, I'm able to hit all these different comments. Appreciate you guys commenting on here. I did have one of my first jerseys after Russ came was a Russell Wilson jersey. I kind of gave it away, but I didn't really, because I actually gave it to my business partner, Mike Lorraine, who is ironically 80s Broncos fan. And so he actually is the one who has my Russell Wilson jersey. So he wears it whenever he's at something and he's trying to support the Seahawks. He wears that actually. So, yeah, it's not gone. I know where it is. It's just not in my possession right now. So yeah, but yeah, actually one of my first, jerseys of the new era was a Russ jersey. So yeah. So, yeah, anyway, it's a weird day to know this. And, I watched the tribute video he put together, and it's very well done. It's very, he does a lot of thank yous. He thanks Pete Carroll, specifically for believing in him and giving me a chance for, a 5'10" quarterback who was considered too short to play in the NFL. Of course, thanks to teammates, the fans, the kids at Children's Hospital. And then there's a point where I remember even listening to that, there's a little bit of that, there's Chameleon Russ coming into it. He says, he's kind of pulling in. Of course, he says, Sierra is the last one. And then he kind of puts in a little bit of sound a little bit too PR self-promoting, but I'll start my new job as a analyst for CBS Sports. It was very almost like, oh, come on, Russ, don't product place yourself too strongly here, because you were kind of you had me in the emotions, and then I felt like, oh, this felt very much like a self-promotion. Here's my next gig. Make sure you tune into CBS Sports to check out my next gig. I was like, oh, come on, Russ. Just keep it on football for right now and not your next gig. We'll see you in plenty of time. But even that, there was that little bit of, oh, Russ, there you go again. Got to do that. But it's what he is, right? There's so many times we were fine and we gave into accepting his sometimes corny responses, because he kept winning. Because when you win, you can kind of do whatever you want. People just think, he's corny, he's silly, but hey, he's our quarterback and he's winning games. We're going to the playoffs. So you don't really make a big deal. If you're losing and you're corny, well, then it's just bad form. But when you're winning, you can be whatever you want. You could say nothing, you could be cornball, whatever. But yeah, winning solves everything, right? Clearly that there wasn't a lot of that happening. Broncos country, let's ride. I think after that, when that finally faded, I think it kind of just stopped, right? I don't think he ever tried to create any more slogans after that with the Steelers. I think he just I think his PR team finally wised up, like, Russ, yo, man, just drop the whole, it ain't working. Just play, man. Just don't say anything. No more slogans. So God's man 02, he still has self-doubt about who he seemingly always had to make sure he was seen. And that's true. Yeah, he definitely always felt like he needed to be in the spotlight, and that, that self-promoting part of it definitely became a little bit of who he was. Do you guys remember that Mr. Unlimited? Probably one of the corniest, eye-rolling, things, cringe-worthy things he ever did was that. I don't know what came over him. I remember it was a very casual selfie video when he said, I think I need to have a nickname for myself, because everybody, blah, 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 who's somebody always has a nickname. So I came up with one, and it's going to be Mr. Unlimited. That's hard to even say it without sounding cornball, right? Like, Russ, what are you doing? And then remember he did some of those Subway commercials? Oh, man. Oh, that was some of the worst. I think he did those after Seattle. I think he did them in Denver. Bad move. That's the thing is, when Russ tried, I think sometimes he tried so hard to be cool that it was the opposite. He was just better kind of being his kind of dorky self and then just keep playing. He's great when it comes to like talking about inspiration and work ethic and believing yourself, because inside of you there's greatness, and that stuff's great. He's great at that stuff. But when he tried to be cool, it felt like, man, it's not really your thing. Now, he married the hot girl. You know, that was a shocker when he started dating Sierra. I was like, whoa, is that really Russ? Is wow, really? Our Russell Wilson's going out with her now? And then they got married and all that. So it's crazy. But yeah. You guys are sharing a lot of great plays. My favorite play was when he caught a touchdown from Doug Baldwin against the Eagles. One awesome memory. Yeah, that was a good one. Bugs versus Windshield. Hey, still love Russ. He played very well for us, then got us amazing picks. His downfall came after he left the team for sure. Bennett Jones 8. Yo, I've been watching you ever since you made that dynamite video about the Hawks. Oh, that was 2019, I believe, when we had to play the Packers in Lambeau after we beat the Eagles. After losing to the 49ers at home, and we lost the number 1 seed, or at least the NFC West. In that 2019, we missed it by that much. Anyway, that's kind of football for it, right? So, yeah. Anyway, I just want to share a few of those thoughts and kind of just get you guys thinking about it, because there'll be a lot of discussion about Russ and how the Seahawks will handle it during this offseason. There'll be a lot of time between now and the start of the season to see how they work that into it. But I hope they do. I would like to think he would come back and he'll want to go back to the roots where it all started. And he's going to, raise a flag or do something like that. And the team will do the 1-day retirement contract thing. And it'll all be flowers and smiles when that day comes. But for now, just have to kind of accept the fact that that's it. We've seen the last of Russ. And I guess I have to call out my friend Mark Collins, because I remember he said quite a while ago that he said he didn't think Russ was going to last another 5 years. And I think it pretty much lasted about 5 years after he said that. So I kind of debated him on that. He was right, though. His career went so fast downhill. And I think probably hit him when he realized, man, I'm going to be a backup to Geno Smith. Yeah, I think I'm going to take that broadcast job. Maybe. I don't know. Would have been interesting to see what would have happened there with the two of them playing on the same team, but we won't ever see it. So, but anyway, that's it for now. I hope you guys will tune in tomorrow when I do my Barking Dogs episode with Chris tomorrow, and we'll be discussing this along with the Myles Garrett trade, the A.J. Brown trade, and just a bunch of stuff. And then finish up the day with some trivia and find out what kind of trick questions Chris has put together. And he assured me that there's going to be at least 2 or 3 questions that are ChatGPT proof, just in case some of you guys are trying to be sneaky and use AI to cheat. But anyway, interesting day. This will definitely go down as a day in history. The official end of Russell Wilson in the NFL. Wild. Never thought it was going to happen so quick, but it's what it is. But also, besides that, I have a new Rivals video coming out. I sent it to the members of NORBFAM because I wanted to get their early reactions, potentially tweaking it if I had any strong feedback from anybody. So I got a few things about it. But I'm excited, something very new that will hopefully be like an ongoing series. But it's the return of Rivals in a way that I've never done before. So I'm excited to release that this week and have you guys check it out. It's going to be very curious to see what you guys' reactions are. So that's it, though. Thanks for staying in, watching this late live stream. And again, thanks to Sam Dog, the infamous 253, for informing me so that he was the one who broke the news to me that Russ was retiring. So appreciate that, bro. That's it. We'll do it again tomorrow night. So thanks again. Appreciate you guys. And let me see. Let me play this video. I'll send you off with my whole Russell Wilson song serenade that I did when he got traded. I'll send you out with this one. So thank you guys. Appreciate you. I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. All right. Here we go. Here's that video. Let me play it for you right here. Go Hawks.